Hey guys, Abraham Mohazy here with KUSI Pigs from the Past, and I'm here with a very special guest, my boy Menelik Holt from St. Augustine, played over at Nebraska, really good friend of mine, one of a legend from San Diego, recently into the St. Augustine Hall of Fame. Menelik, how are you, my man?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Abraham. I'm doing great. Like you said, recently inducted to Saints Hall of Fame. What an honor it is to be amongst all those other great men that went to that school. And I'm really happy to be on the phone with you today.
Man, I really appreciate that, man. I want to, this is Pigs from the Past. I want to dive in, take a trip down memory lane. Can you just walk us through, Menelik Holt, and how was it, you ended up at St. Augustine?
Yeah, growing up here in San Diego, a lot of us played for the same Pop Warner teams, and we had a running back named Todd Moore that went to Saints, who also played for Balboa Raiders back in the day. And I'd heard he went to Saints, and my mother kind of got interested in it, and I started paying a little bit more attention to the school, and they started paying a little bit more attention to me, and I started going to games and going to uni games, and at the end of the day, I think my mother felt like Saints was the best fit. I had a real strong connection with Coach Hop, who's still the basketball coach, and then Coach Jerry Ralph. And once I stepped foot on campus and watching some of the games, I just felt like it was a good fit for me and my family. Also wanted to get a good education and kind of escape the part of town that I grew up in. So I'm very thankful and humbled to have been able to go to the school like that.
That's amazing because it worked out great for you. You had a great career as a receiver, tight end, over there for the Saints. How was that? How was that for you? Because you guys had a great offense. I remember you guys had a couple quarterbacks, the brothers, right? That all came
Yeah, we
through.
did. Yeah, so we had Richard Kovalchek, who, when I was a freshman, who went to University of Arizona. Then we had Jake Santos, who went to University of Hawaii. And then after him, we had Jason Forcier, who had a ticket to Michigan. And then Chris Forcier, who had a ticket to UCLA. So playing a receiver position, I couldn't imagine being any more blessed than having those kind of guys throw the rock. So going there initially, I'd only played defense my whole life. Playing for Balboa, I was younger but heavier, so I wasn't really that coordinated. So I was always played line, D-line, linebacker. And then my freshman year, they told me to run a fade route, and they threw the ball up, and I jumped and pretty much went up for a rebound and came down for a touchdown. And that's when all the coaches' eyes kind of lit up. And ever since that day, they moved me to receiver. I had a big learning curve, learning how to run routes and timing and catching the ball. And one thing I could always do was jump and go up and get rebounds because of my history in basketball. So once I put a little bit of time and effort into learning the craft and couple that with having Jerry Ralph, who I think spearheaded the spread offense here in San Diego. We were the only team that ran four wide every play here when I was in high school. So defense didn't really know what to do with it, coupled with great coaching and a great school and awesome quarterbacks. I was able to succeed, and it was kind of like a perfect match. So I was very blessed to be able to play in games like the Holy Bowl, play against competition like Helix and Uni, now Cathedral. And the hard work I put in, coupled with coaches calling great plays and great quarterbacks, I was able to make some big plays and make a name for myself here.
That's true, man. You really did. And I remember seeing you guys a lot on the Prep Pigskin Report. Do you remember what that was like, being on the Prep Pigskin Report, leading up to the Prep Pigskin, those Friday nights after the games?
Man, I remember we would get on the bus, and before you get on the bus, you look around to see if anyone was going to get interviewed. And if anyone got interviewed, you pray that it was you. And a couple times I was chosen, and I would be really, really nervous not knowing what I'm going to say. And then we would rush back to the bus and hurry up and get back to the school so we can eat pizza as a team and watch the interview. So, back then we had, Reggie Bush was someone that kind of had us glued to Prep Pigskin. Then we had P.T. Gates. And from then on, if you made Prep Pigskin, you kind of were the guy and the man around town. So I think a lot of us, like yourself, we were really itching to make plays so we can have our family and friends see us on the news. And I was able to get interviewed a couple of times. And when I did, it really meant a lot to me and my family. So
That is true, man. I remember those feelings. I still remember the lights, the camera up in your face, and it's like, oh man, I hope I don't mess this up. This is cool. I know I'm gonna be on TV. So I definitely remember that feeling, man. It was a special feeling. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Just those times, hurrying up, like I gotta get home, man. I gotta catch the PVR. There was no
exactly.
DVR. We couldn't watch it later.
There was no DVR. It was just PPR.
Right. Hey, so that's cool, man. And then following St. Augustine, you ended up getting a full ride to the University of Nebraska, which is huge. Growing up in our time, that was one of the biggest powerhouses in football, which still is a huge powerhouse. What was it that made you decide to go to Nebraska?
At the time, we had a kicker named Jordan Congdon, who was U.S. Army All-American and was the #1 kicker in the nation. Now, he actually committed to Nebraska, and that kind of started the connection between Saints and Nebraska. They had come out for a spring practice, I think, in the end of my junior year, or middle of my junior year, and they had offered me right on the spot. And actually, it was the first offer I'd ever received. Like many kids growing up in Southeast San Diego, the idea of going to college is something all of our parents put in our head, but how we were going to get there, we didn't really know. The finance aspect, we didn't really understand and know how that was going to get taken care of. And so when I first got that offer from Bill Bush, who also was a guy who recruited Alex Smith from Helix, and the only offer Alex Smith got onto going and being the #1 pick in the draft, I took it very seriously, and I was very proud that all the work I put in had amounted to me being able to change my situation. So I went out there on a visit, and in true Husker form, the crowds were shouting my name. And I learned there was a small community of people that really banded behind the football program, very much like Saints. There was a lot of accountability. More importantly, they had one of the highest GPAs of Black African-American athletes and graduation rates for Black African-American athletes. Wow. So on my recruiting visits, everyone had a good football program. Everyone had nice jerseys, but the first question I was taught to ask was, what % of your Black athletes graduate? And they were one of the highest. And I think coupling that with the culture, being a big program, and having a teammate that was going to be there meant a lot for me and my mother. So I went on my visits, and after Nebraska offered, I think I graduated with about 50 offers from Michigan to Notre Dame and all these big schools. And at the end of the day, I committed to the team that committed to me. They also told me that if I were to tear my ACL, that they would honor my scholarship. And if you remember, back then is when the movie Friday Night Lights came out. And I was so afraid of becoming Movie Miles and losing everything over an injury.
Right.
So they made a commitment to me and my family, and I made a commitment to them. And I stuck with them through my junior year and through my senior year, and ended up getting a ticket there, playing, loving it, winning big games, losing big games, and also playing against my best friend, Demetrius Sumler, who ended up going to the University of Colorado. Back then, Colorado and Nebraska were in the same conference and were rivals. So we played in rival high schools, and we ended up playing in rival colleges every year. So that meant a lot to keep that competition going. So.
That is super cool, man. And how was it? How was it? What was that experience like? Being a Husker, coming out to that stadium, you're at this historic top Division I program. Do you remember that feeling? Like the first time you walked out?
Man, I do. Because being at Saints, we played around some big crowds. I think the Holy Bowl, the last one I played in versus Demetrius, we had like 12,000 people at Southwestern College. Wow. And it doesn't compare to Nebraska. So I like to say that playing in front of the big lights and getting used to, Pigskin report, it got me used to needing to play and make plays with a lot of people watching. But running onto that crowd in that sea of red, there was nothing like it. So all the young men now that are, in the hunt for scholarships or already have some, this first time you go out there on a game and you see that many people chanting and rooting on for you is going to be amazing. It's something you'll take away with you and you'll never forget, for the rest of your life. So very blessed to be a Husker, very blessed to play for such an organization. I'd like us to win a little bit more games right now.
Right. And then following your college football career, what was that like for you?
At Nebraska, going and playing in the cold, coming from San Diego, I told myself I was going to make sure I left with a piece of paper, whether it be a degree or NFL contract. I couldn't guarantee an NFL contract, but I always knew I could guarantee a degree. So I took my school of studies very seriously. I made sure to pass all my classes because after all, like many kids, here in San Diego that are hoping to get a scholarship, there's not much for you to come back to as far as your family handing you anything down. So I made sure to graduate, and upon graduating and a small stint trying to get workouts with the NFL, I moved back to San Diego. And, the people of the St. Augustine community, the name I built for myself, and staying out of the bad side of the news, coupled with the degree, I was able to transition into getting, some good jobs starting out. And now I'm a medical device sales representative and manager for San Diego. So I work in the hospitals and helping fix broken bones and repair them with implants. And having gone to Saints and finishing, and me having gone to Nebraska and getting that degree, I mean, it still pays off till this day. Just saying I went to St. Augustine High School, it automatically has opened a lot of doors for me. And a lot of doctors and surgeons have sons that went to Saints or currently do go to Saints. And the fact that I graduated from University of Nebraska and finished my degree, it opened up a lot of doors for me as well. So all the young men that are out there listening, no matter what school you're going to, the most important thing you can do is finish. And when you get to college, you can't guarantee an NFL contract, but you can guarantee yourself a diploma and a degree. And that's something that you want to make sure you accomplish while you're there.
That's awesome, man. I really admire you for that, man, for making that happen, because not a lot of guys do, especially on a football scholarship. Usually it's like football or nothing. This was just like my ticket there, but you actually you flipped that. You used it as like, no, football is my ticket to where I can get my degree and I can actually set myself up for the future. So I definitely tip my hat off to you on that one, man. And since you left, once you left Nebraska and came back to San Diego, was that another transition for you?
Um, it was, because when you go away for 4 or 5 years and you come back, some of your buddies have moved away. Some of them have started working jobs. Some of them have done absolutely nothing. So coming back here and trying to regroup myself with some of my friends was tough. A lot of us are athletes, growing up in San Diego, we all play with each other, play against each other. So, everyone and different parts of the country. So coming back to San Diego was tough, trying to figure out who my people were all over again. And luckily enough, I created some really strong bonds through sports, through school. And a lot of us are still cool to this day, just like you and I, or just like Raymond Williams, who I think the Pigskin community knows very well. So the transition was tough, going from football all the time to now having a bunch of time on my hand. But I always knew that I would make a name for myself professionally. And I just kind of dove headfirst into that.
That's awesome, man. I'm really happy for you, man. And we are good friends. Every time I see you, it's always love. You've always been that type of person since I met you in high school, since our 7-on-7 days versus the same, some good times. What's next for Menelik Holt? What can we expect from Menelik?
Now I'm trying to transition into a role of ownership in the industry that I'm in. I'm right now focusing and studying from my partner on how to possibly own and run my own medical device sales company. Wow. Also, I'm at the stage of my life where I think it's important to give back to the young men and women in my community. And now I'm looking at avenues to be able to do that through my high school and through youth programs. So much was given to me. I was definitely that kid that was raised by a village, and so many people had a part and played a part in my success and my growth. And I think the same could be said for you and a lot of other young men and women that are athletes these days. And I think it's very important for us to backfill the roles of those people who made personal sacrifices to give a kid a chance, and not just the kids that we think are going to be great athletes, but all the kids that deserve a chance, and that's every single kid. So, what's next for Minnow? I think it's going to be giving back to the Saints community first and foremost, and learning how I could be a mentor to some of the young men there that are transitioning from boys to men and from high school kids to college kids.
Man, that's awesome, man. And then to wrap this up, what's one thing you'd like to, let the listeners, some of these kids that are still in high school now, trying to get to college, make it to the next level, chasing the NFL dream as well. What's some advice you'd give them?
When you're a young man or a young kid trying to make it to the next level, it's very easy to become very individualistic, right? Everything that we see on the media, social media, news, TV, and amongst our friends is about focusing on yourself. How am I going to promote myself? How am I going to get myself to the next level? And I think when you become so self-centered, you forget that, no one accomplishes anything of great value on your own. It's going to take someone helping you. It took someone throwing me the ball. It took someone giving me a ride to games. It took a coach having patience with me. And I think that if you're someone who has benefited from those around you making personal sacrifices to help you get you to the next level, I think it's also important to return that favor by being loyal. I know that in this day and age, it's very easy to jump from school to school. And I think that, you're not really learning a good habit in life. I think there were times in Nebraska where I wanted to leave. There were times in St. Augustine I wanted to leave. But I think it was the perseverance and understanding that, hardships are going to come, hurdles are going to come. And the lesson you learn in life is learn how to fight through those and work through those with the people around you, not to run. So I can't speak on everyone's situation, but it does kind of break my heart to see so many young men think that the answer and the way to success is to jump ship and go somewhere else. So I like to see some of these young men and parents commit to these coaches, and these coaches commit to these kids and help get these kids on to the next level, but also teach them the valuable lesson that as a real man, you need to stick through some things, and everything's not always going to be peachy. And you're going to have to learn to fight and work through the people and work with the people that are around you. Everyone in your life isn't interchangeable. Everyone in your life isn't disposable. And the older you get, you start to realize how important those relationships are. And those relationships that we build through commitment, and we build through trust. And you only get that not with experience, but with time. So that's the message I'd like to give to these young men.
Dang, man, those are some gems. I hope everybody listening caught on and grasped that, man. That's some really wise words from a very, very intelligent man, Menelik Holt, man. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to having you back again, man.
All right. Thanks, Abraham. You have a good day.
You too, man.
Go Saints.